Hey guys, Jam here, and welcome back to another collaboration Kitbash. And today's guest star, I guess you'll call him, is Zumakito Miniatures. Now you guys might have seen me mention him on my channel before when the whole I'm a Wargamer thing was going around. I kind of nominated him for that. And we've actually been planning this kind of collaboration Kitbash thing for a few months now. But as some of you guys might know, I've been having a lot of like camera and audio issues and stuff like that. But I finally got it all sorted out. So yeah, here's the miniature and everything that I've done. And you guys probably know who Zumakito is already because his channel's exploded since we actually planned this. He was on like 7,000 subs at the time, and now he's on like 30,000. So yeah, congratulations on that, man. Really well deserved there. If you don't know him, go check his channel out. I'll have it linked up somewhere or everywhere. But yeah, I'll quit my jibber jabbering. Let Zumakito take it from here, and let's get started on the miniature, guys.
Hey Jem, so you have asked me what kind of Space Marine would I like, and of course that's gonna be Sons of the Phoenix since I collected them. Now regarding the weapons that I would like to see, it's definitely gonna be regular bolt pistol and power sword combo, but you can definitely add more purity seals and candles, because after all, those are Sons of the Phoenix. I'm sure that you have plenty of purity seals laying around, but maybe those candles can be a little bit challenging, but I'm sure that you will figure it out. Okay, thanks dude.
Alright, so Sons of the Phoenix it is. So if we actually pop over to Zumakito's YouTube channel, he's got a lot of content on Sons of the Phoenix. Well, at least he uses the models for a lot of videos. And there's one particular Primaris Lieutenant dude that has a bolt gun and a power sword, which he did 3 videos with. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use that exact model that he's got there, and I'm just going to crank it up a notch into a bit more Sons of the Phoenix style. So as you can see already here, I've got the model built up and ready to go. But like Zumakito said in his video, Sons of the Phoenix are all about candles and purity seals and stuff like that. So if you look at this image I got up on the screen, it's the first thing that comes up when you search Sons of the Phoenix. And as you can see on this dude, he's got loads of long purity seals everywhere. He's got candles on his backpack, and he's got kind of bones riveted to his armor and stuff like that. So I kind of like the whole gothic, cathedral-y vibe kind of thing going on here. And that's pretty much what we're going to do here. So first of all, I figured I'd start off with the candles. Now, I was going to make my own candles out of green stuff, which is pretty easy to do to be honest, but you get places like Green Stuff World, and I got these from a place called March of War, and you just get an absolute boatload of them for really, really cheap. So I figured I might as well just buy them, it saves me time, and I can use them for loads and loads of kit bashes in the future as well. Now, obviously a lot of them are very big and chunky, you can't use them on backpacks and stuff like that, so you got to pick out the right ones, and then later we'll be doing some green stuff as well to make sure it all blends into the power pack and all that. So I've got my candles picked out, and I'm just going to glue them on there, but first we got to trim down the backpack so you don't have those little square nubby things getting in the way. So just very carefully trim off the pegs with your hobby knife, and then just kind of shave it down until it's nice and smooth. Now all you got to do is get some super glue and pop those bad boys on. Obviously I always recommend doing a bit of dry fitting to make sure you get it into the place that you want, especially when using super glue, because obviously once it touches that it's pretty much stuck at that point. And don't worry if you get too much super glue around there as well. Like I said, we're going to be green stuffing around the base anyway. If you guys watched my How to Kitbash the Dark Angel Librarian, you would have seen what I'm going to do with this anyway. That was kind of my trial model before hitting Zumakito's model here. And when gluing them on, I'm trying to get them into like different size orders and not everything in a straight line. I didn't want it to look too boring, so I try to mix up the heights and stuff a little bit. Yeah, like you can see here, I got them going off in different angles and stuff like that, and that's pretty much the candles done, to be honest. Well, for a minute anyway. And I mean, this is a really, really cheap and quick way you can get a nice gothic feel to any miniature, especially like Dark Angels, maybe Black Templars, anything like that. So I definitely recommend picking up some resin candles, a pot of super glue, and there you go. So now we're just going to let the candles dry before we start working the wax and stuff in there. And while we're waiting for that, it's time to start on the big purity seals. So what you want to do for this part is mix up some green stuff, you know, just a 50-50 mix between the yellow and blue, nothing too fancy there. But once you mix, you want to leave it to stand for at least maybe a half an hour, depending on how much you're making, just because you don't want it super, super soft. You want it a little bit more, I don't know, set, I guess. Now just make sure your surface is wet, so your green stuff doesn't stick on there. And as you can see, I already kind of figured I didn't like just rolling out a big ball like that. So what I've done is I just started rolling it into a long kind of sausage thing and just kind of flattening it out until I get the length that I wanted. I feel like rolling it out this way, you can get a much longer bit that's also a bit more in the shape that you want. Also, apologies for any shaky cameo. I'm kind of rocking the desk doing this. But yeah, as you can see, it's much easier to stretch it out and get a nice long thin piece. And then just the exact same thing as before, just roll it out with your hobby knife so you get the nice flat kind of parchment paper vibe going on. And there you have it. Of course, just make sure you don't roll it out too thin, because you got to remember you got to move it around and try and work it onto the miniature without it snapping. But you also don't want it too thick that it just looks unnatural. So yeah, all you got to do now is cut off the rounded edges and then snip off the lengths that you want for your purity seals. So yeah, here I'm just kind of bringing the model up, kind of thinking, okay, what kind of length do I want? And just always remember, if it's too long, you can just cut pieces off. It's much easier that way. So yeah, always cut a longer piece than you need. Yeah, and I just use the sharp bit of my blade to make sure I lift the purity seal off the surface there without kind of damaging it. So yeah, I just got the rough length that I wanted, got it up on my hobby knife, and I'm going to just try and get it into the place that I want and see if it works. Get your super glue out, pop a little blob on where you want your purity seal to start from, and then just stick the green stuff on there. And yeah, try not to drop your model in the process. Now, because we are going to have to put a wax seal on this end anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten it down, kind of round it off there as well. So we're squeezing it into place, but we're also getting the shape for the purity sealy wax part to go as well. Now, because it is a pretty thin piece of green stuff, you can just let it flap in the wind and you'll be fine. But I'm going to try and get it to connect in another place so I can super glue it there, give that extra bit of strength. So you just got to find where you want your parchment to kind of be blowing and stuff, and try and connect it into maybe 2 or 3 different places if you can. So there I've got it roughly in the place that I want it. I'm going to cut it to length, and then I'm going to put a bit of super glue down to hold it there. Then all I'm doing now is I'm just moving the purity seal around so it kind of looks like it's flapping in the wind. So that's why I said it's good to have the green stuff kind of set for a bit, so then it holds its shape a lot better that way. Then we just got to do the exact same thing on the other leg, but of course, depending on how many you want to make, you just, well, make as many as you want. So to just kind of rush through the second one, we're doing the same thing, kind of pressing down the starting point there for the wax seal that's going to come on in a bit. Now moving it along the leg, trying to keep the flow of the miniature in the same direction. So I want everything kind of blowing to the right. Now there are some inbuilt purity seals that aren't doing that, so the flow is not 100% on this model, but yeah, keeping it then that kind of direction, it makes it look more natural. And also, now that it's pressed up against the leg, I'm just going to put a bit of super glue around the pistol holster thing, like I said before, just giving it that extra bit of strength. And basically just gluing it down any point where it touches the model. So yeah, for the last part, to finishing off these purity seals, like I said a million times at this point, you need the wax seals. Now all you got to do is roll up 2 small little balls of green stuff, or like I said before, however many purity seals you made, and then just pop them on where we left the kind of indentations before. And as I was kind of dry fitting them there just to see if maybe they were too big or not, I took it back off just to cut a little bit more green stuff off there because it was a bit too chunky. And the end result probably is still a bit too chunky, but hey, this is first time doing it and we all learn. So yeah, just make sure you don't put too much on there. You don't want a big fat purity seal. Then all you got to do is get the rounded part of your paintbrush, like the back end, or maybe if you got some sort of rounded sculpting tool, and just push the middle in so you get a nice indentation like you would normally get on GW style purity seals. Then I just get my hobby knife or toothpick or something like that, move it around into the shape that you want. You also want to leave kind of like ridges and dimply kind of things in the ridge of the purity seal wax thing, if that makes any sense. So it's not just one perfect little circle, you've got kind of like a ripply movement going through it. And as always, in most of my green stuffing videos, if you do happen to leave some kind of texture behind by your tools and stuff, just get an old damp paintbrush and just kind of brush it over. It helps smooth the green stuff out without leaving any marks behind. And once again, do the exact same thing for the other side. It's easy as that. Like I said, you just get the wax seal into the place that you want, get some texture in there, and you're pretty much done. Alright, so next up, we've got the candles, we've got the purity seals. The other thing that we don't have though is bones. Now I got these kind of like bony things from the Flesh Eater Court's Ghoul kit. There's quite a lot of them in there, and they seem to fit the size of Primaris Marines pretty well. Now obviously because I'm doing my guy as a death watch, both my shoulder pads are taken up by like icons and logos and stuff like that. So I won't be putting the bones on there. The only other place I thought it fit really well was the backpack. And to be honest, nothing much I can really say there. You just find the place where you want to put them and glue them on. But one thing I can say about it is, obviously you need something to kind of make it look like it's pinned in or spiked into the armor. It's not just floating around there. So now I've got these teeth from the Manticore set, I think from Age of Sigmar, and I'm just going to cut off the little spiky end bits of the teeth and I'm going to stick them onto the bone. So like I said, it looks like little metal spikes or something have been pinned through the bone into the armor. Now, as you can imagine, this is a pretty fiddly step because they're very, very tiny spiky bits. So I'll try and get it mostly into focus here, but you guys get the idea. It takes a bit of work, like I said, because they're so small, but it's definitely a great bit of detail there, especially because there's a spike. It kind of gives it that more of a gothic vibe that the Sons of the Phoenix have. So at this point, I feel like we've added all the major features of the Sons of the Phoenix there. But now I was going to add some small accessory bits that I feel will help this model pop because, you know, it's a collaboration Kitbash and I've got to make Zumakito stand out in the army. I've got this bit of purity seal kind of thing from Chief Librarian Tigerius, I believe his name is. And it has more of that whole kind of purity seal, secret knowledge kind of vibe going on. So all I'm going to do is gently cut off the keys, which I'm going to use later as well. And then as you can see, I glued onto the backpack. Now, originally I thought maybe it looked like too much because we can have candles there, the bones there, and then plus that on top as well. But I feel like it kind of makes it look like a shrine, if that makes any sense. So I thought it actually fit really, really well for what the aesthetic of this army is. Think of like catacombs underneath churches. That's the kind of feeling I get at this when I look at this backpack. Now there are some small gaps and stuff like that, and all I did was put a bit of extra super glue in there so it melts the gap shut. So yeah, at this point the model's pretty much done, to be honest. Now, like I said before, my guy's going to be in the Death Watch, so I got to give him that extra bit of Death Watchy flavor by sticking this kind of bomb bag kind of thing onto his chest. Plus, I'm going to add one last purity seal onto the bottom of the leg there. I feel like having the 3 on the one leg just fits it really well. Then, for adding the wax part onto the candles, we want to get our green stuff into like a long strip again. Cut off a bit that you need and just kind of wrap it around the base of the candles. Now I'm going to be using a damp toothpick this entire time, and it's a really great and cheap tool to use, but you're more than welcome to use sculpting tools, your hobby knife, anything that will work really. And all you got to do is press the green stuff all the way around, get it into the shape of the candles, and as you're pushing it as well, the green stuff will kind of stretch and it'll probably go all the way around, but if not, just cut off more green stuff and stick it on there. And of course, once you've got the green stuff all the way around, then you just want to start kind of moving it around, making it look a bit more like melted wax. So you want to push a little bit of green stuff up the candles, push a little bit down the backpack, just get it up and down all over the place, give it some grooves and kind of ridges and peaks and stuff like that. Just making it, like I said, look like melted wax. You know, it runs down in very random ways. And then talking about melted wax, obviously some parts are going to run further down the armor than other parts. So what you want to do is get little strips of green stuff again, kind of roll it out into little thin bits, and then just slap it on wherever you want like really long bits of wax just kind of dripping down the armor. It's a really nice touch. As you can see there, where I'm kind of letting it drip down the backpack and almost kind of pooling around and slowly overlapping over the bone as well, just integrating those parts together. Then I also just put a few more of those kind of like longer strips here and there. Just make sure that you don't do them too thick, because you got to remember to keep it in scale to the model. They'd be really thin strips. Like in my last video I said, if you do them too thick, you can go back and kind of use your hobby knife and like slice them in half and all that stuff. It's not really a big problem. And yeah, like I said before, and not just putting like extra bits of green stuff. The green stuff you originally put on, you can just pull it down longer and stuff if you've got really thick bits and stuff like that. Just make it look as random and drippy as possible. And as you can see there, we've got the wax in the kind of places that we want. Once again, we're just getting our wet paintbrush out and just running it up and down the wax, kind of helping it get into place, smoothing the edges out so it looks far more natural than those kind of like harsh edges and ridges and stuff like that. So it really smooths it out and makes it look really, really nice. It also kind of tapers off the edges and stuff so it looks far more natural. It really is a great way to finish off a lot of different types of green stuff, textures and stuff like that. But yeah, with that final bit of green stuff getting smoothed out, the model is pretty much done, guys. Now let's cut to an actual showcase of the whole thing completed. And there we have it, ladies and gents, in all his glory. Now, as you can see, I've actually painted this guy up for once, and the reason being is because the recipe I'm using for black power armor is actually Zumakito's one that he made a video of, so I thought it was kind of fitting to do it. Now, obviously, you can probably see there's a lot of details I haven't finished. To be honest, I just haven't had the time. I've still got to do the sword, the basing. There's still a lot of little small details I need to clean up, so I'll have to come back to it on another day and finish it up. And when I do, I'll put up a link or something to my Instagram where I'll post it up. But anyway, enough of that waffle. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Maybe you learned something. And Zumakito, if you're watching this, I hope you dig the model I've made, man. It was a lot of fun to do, and there's a lot of things I learned as well. Like, I've never done purity seals and stuff like that, and I think next time I'll probably add in some more texture to the actual green stuff. And yeah, maybe in the future if I do another Sons of the Phoenix, I'll definitely improve on that. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna call the video here. If you enjoyed it, you know what to do. Hit the like button, the subscribe, all that kind of stuff you hear all the time. And of course, if you do want to support the channel in any way, I do have a Patreon and a merch store and all that kind of goodness. Always appreciate any sort of support the channel gets, and you know, it helps keep my bits box full for all these kit bashing videos. But yeah, just a last thank you to Zumakito for this. This was a sweet collaboration kit bash. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. But until the next video, bye bye.